In this tutorial, we're going to look at buttons in Flash. And for this tutorial, I've pre-prepared the Flash program so that you don't have to watch me type. So what I've done is I've created one symbol called button 1. If we look at this symbol, we have our up position, our over position, down, and hit. And then I have dragged two instances of the button onto the screen. This first instance, if I go to Properties, I have named the instance BTN. You must name the instance because we're going to start to write code with this tutorial, and in order to be able to talk to this button, it needs to have a name. The other button I've named BTN2, and then I've put both of those on layer 1. On layer 2, I've named this layer code. This layer doesn't have anything physically on it, but it has code. To access the code, we right click, scroll down to the very bottom, and look under Actions. And in Actions, we see the code that I've created for these two buttons. So the first thing that I have to do in order to deal with a button is I have to have a listener. And the example that I often use in class is a listener is like a puppy dog. When you first get your puppy dog and you teach it how to fetch, it will often come to you and just sit and wait and wait and wait and wait. Throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. And then as soon as you throw the ball, it does something. An event listener is similar. All an event listener is doing is just waiting for you to do something, waiting for the user to click something, waiting for the user to do something. As soon as the user does something, then the event listener springs into action. So to create an event listener, we name the thing that we're creating the event listener for, followed by a dot, and then the keyword add event listener to create an event listener for this thing. For this one, we're going to use the mouse event click as our trigger. So that's what the event listener is waiting for. And a mouse event click is obviously when the mouse has been depressed and released. When the click happens, we're going to go to the function button click. And that's a function that we have to create as programmers. If we look down, after I've created my event listeners for both button 1 and button 2, then I create the functions that will happen when those buttons get clicked. The name of the function here must match the name of the function here so that the event listener is able to send information to the correct function. When you create a function, you start with the keyword function, followed by the name of the function, in this case button click, followed by parameters. In this case we have E, which is a mouse event. This is followed by a colon and the type of thing that this function is going to return. In this case, we're returning void, which means nothing. We're not returning anything at all. But you can create a function that returns information, which we'll see later on in the course. We follow that with a brace bracket. A brace bracket you can think of as begin. So this is the beginning of the function button click. That brace bracket matches up with this closing brace bracket. You can think of the closed brace bracket as end. That's the end of the function. In this function, all that we're doing is we are making btn.visible, which is the attribute of whether btn can be seen or not. We're taking that and setting it equal to false. So what's going to happen when we click this button is that the button's going to disappear. We could change any number of attributes of the button, but this one's an easy one to see. The second thing we're going to put in is we're going to put in another function. This is for the second button, btn2. And all this button is tasked with doing is making the first button, btn, visible again. So we have one button that makes itself invisible, the other button makes the first button reappear. So let's run our code. We can do that by hitting Control and Enter. So this first button, you can see that the colors change as I go over them. When I click, changes color again, and it disappears. The other button I can click and make reappear. If I click it again, nothing happens. Click this one, disappears. So that is the basics of buttons. And in further tutorials, we'll go into more details about buttons. Thanks for watching.